Let's look at William Blake's use of metre in London. I wander through each charted street near where the charted Thames does flow. Now, most of the poem is written in iambic tetrameter. This means lines of 8 syllables with alternating unstressed and stressed syllables. This consistent, repetitive metre mirrors the monotonous, inescapable suffering of the poor in London. However, not everything is written in this metre. Some lines contain 7 syllables, like line 4, marks of weakness, marks of woe. And in a line pointing out the weakness of those who are suffering, experiencing weakness and woe, the line itself becomes weak in its syllable use. It contains less than the previous lines. So Blake is weakening the line here to reflect the weakness of those who are suffering under the abuse of those in power. London is absolutely filled with repetition, including anaphora, which is where a word or group of words is repeated at the beginning of successive clauses or lines. Let's look at stanza 2. In every cry of every man, in every infant's cry of fear, in every voice, in every ban. See how each line begins with in every? That's anaphora, and by repeating that, it emphasises how the suffering Blake describes is not limited to just one part of London or one type of person, but affects everyone, everywhere in the city. The anaphora also affects the rhythm of the poem. This rhythmic, almost mechanical repetition reflects the repetitive nature of the suffering described. These aren't isolated moments, but a continuous cycle of suffering due to the misuse of power. London ends with an oxymoron, 2 words together which seem to contradict each other, in the image of the marriage hearse. How can the happy idea of marriage, with connotations of celebration of life, love and new beginnings, be linked to a hearse, signifying the end of life and the inevitability of death? This oxymoron is used to present the disillusionment with those in power, be it the monarchy, the government, organised religion or landowners who are supposed to protect and serve, but instead are the cause of widespread suffering. The image reflects how corrupt leadership has impacted every part of life. It suggests even the things meant to bring happiness, like a wedding, are overshadowed by suffering like that found at a funeral. The structural decision to end the poem with this image leaves the reader with no hope for improvement. Those in power in London have caused inescapable suffering. In Checking Out Me History, the title uses the non-standard me instead of my, which is a deliberate choice that challenges the rules of standard English. By using me, Agard refuses to accept the dominant culture that has historically forced its own language and standards on others. The title shows that the poem is about taking back power from a system that tries to control and suppress it. It's a theme we will see time and time again in the poem. Another important aspect of Checking Out Me History is Agard's use of Creole language, including Caribbean words and phonetic spellings such as dem instead of them. Now, this choice connects with the poem's lack of punctuation. Agard once again intentionally avoids conforming to the standard English rules, and by doing so challenges the English rules that are imposed upon him. Checking Out Me History is about the segregation of white and black history, but the rhyme scheme is used to force them together in several ways. We see this in a number of stanzas, but let's focus in on one as an example. Dem tell me about the man who discovered the balloon and the cow who jump over the moon. Dem tell me about the dish ran away with the spoon, but dem never tell me about Nanny de Maroon. Now here, the rhyme scheme builds up with balloon, moon and spoon, creating a rhythmic momentum that ends with the final line of the stanza, Nanny de Maroon. And this structural technique heightens the impact of the final example by making it the climax of the rhyme sequence. This emphasises the significance of Nanny de Maroon. Agard uses this method to draw attention to these stanza-ending figures, urging readers to reflect on their importance. The rhyme scheme not only climaxes at these names, but many stanzas also end on these black historical figures: Toussaint, Nanny de Maroon, Mary Seacole, and finally the speaker themselves. By positioning the speaker as the last figure mentioned, Agard suggests that learning about their heritage and history has empowered the speaker to realise their own significance. There is lots of imagery and metaphor related to nature in the poem. We see mountain, fire, stream and river in this stanza alone, and all of this positive natural imagery suggests that these are the positive natural influences on the speaker's life. By using this imagery, Agard suggests a connection between nature's power and these historical figures. This natural imagery portrays them as powerful forces that shape the speaker's identity. It's another example of nature imagery being linked to power, something we see time and time again in the cluster, and something we've seen time and time again in this video.